Hi, welcome to the recording. Here's the problem we're looking at today. So for normally distributed data, what proportion of observations have a z-score less than negative 2.03? So let's take a minute and notice the vocabulary here. They're telling us a z-score. Whenever we see that variable z used in statistics, it's an indication that the normal distribution we're looking at has mean 0 and standard deviation 1. So we'll use that information when we're drawing our picture in a moment. Another way to think about a z-score is it's telling you how many standard deviations away from the mean you are. So this is saying what proportion of observations are 2.03 standard deviations below the mean. So let's take a look at our picture, draw a picture here to illustrate how we would get an answer. Okay, so pull up a color we like. Let's begin by writing our given information. They never come out and say the mean or standard deviation of this distribution, but because they tell us it's a standard normal, or because they talk about a z-score, we know it's a standard normal, we know the mean is 0, and the standard deviation is 1. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to draw our picture. So there's our horizontal axis. Take our time and get a good normal curve drawn above it. Okay, that bell-shaped curve. Yours may look better than mine, but there's the rough sketch, and we can fill in our mean is 0. We don't have to fill in those standard deviations because we've already mentioned it up here on the page, in our given information. We only need to include it if it's going to be helpful to us in finding the answer to the problem. Now we can think about that z-score they gave us of negative 2.03. Whenever we have a z-score, that's going to go on the horizontal axis. So it's negative 2.03. If this is my first inflection point, my second inflection point is somewhere out here. So just a little bit to the left of that, we can say, okay, here's my z-score, negative 2.03. And the question asked, what proportion of observations, excuse me, sorry for that interruption. Let's pull our whiteboard back up again. Okay. So the question asked, what proportion of observations have a z-score below negative 2.03? So if this is the z-scores, they're getting lower and lower. Anything to the left of this is going to have a z-score below that negative 2.03. So let's shade that in. And anytime we want to find a proportion, that's the same as finding an area under the curve. So we're looking for how big is that area? What percent is that area? Remember now we want to think about which command do we need to get the answer here. Do we need normal CDF or inverse norm? Well, whenever a z-score is given, whenever we have the number on the horizontal and we're looking for an area, normal CDF is going to be the command that gets that for us. So we're going to use norm CDF. Norm CDF. Remember, whenever we use the normal CDF command, the first thing we have to input is the area, the left-hand border of the shaded area. Well, this shaded area goes forever to the left. So the left-hand border is really negative infinity. We can't enter negative infinity in the calculator, but for our purposes, what we'll enter is this, negative 1, and then use exponential notation here, E9. That's indicating a negative 1 with 9 zeros after it, a very negative number. And then the right-hand border of that area of interest is negative 2.03. And then we need to enter the mean and the standard deviation. So my mean is 0. My standard deviation is 1. So I put this in the calculator. It will tell me the size of that area. So let's go ahead and do that. If we do second vars, choose normal CDF, which is option 2, and then we're going to do negative 1, E9, and then negative 2.03, and then 0, and then 1. And the number I'm getting is 0.02117, so rounding to 4 decimal places is 0.0212. So that gives me 0.0212. And so to complete my picture, I want to go back and say, how does this number here fit into this picture? This number is telling me the size of this shaded region. It's saying as a decimal, it's 0.0212. If the question had asked for a percent, we could convert it to a percent by multiplying by 100, and it would be about 2%. But let's go back to that question and see what format did they want us to give it in. And they're asking for a proportion, so proportion we keep as a decimal, so we would enter it as 0.0212. We can see there that's the answer Walnut was looking for. Okay, I hope that was helpful.